Now, travelling songstress Barbara Dickson must sometimes have difficulty remembering exactly where she is on her tours because she's all over the place. Well, it's Thursday, so it must be Manchester, and here she is.
And I've been here since 8:30, so I have got great difficulty remembering where I am this morning.
I know, what a trooper.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, we rather gracelessly called you an itinerant songstress in the opening
like
there.
a sort of travelling salesman there.
Yes,
Thanks,
but yes, that's okay. But you're always travelling, you're always on the move, and it takes huge stamina because it's not just the travelling that's tiring, you've got to be ready to do a good performance. And I mean, how do you manage?
Well, being on tour is actually worse than making television programmes, I think. I mean, obviously I don't do this sort of thing, but for me, travelling, making the programme like the Isles of Scilly last night and the rest of the programmes is positively leisurely compared to what I normally do on a concert tour, which is, I think, what you're getting at. I spent the whole of the autumn on a tour of Great Britain, then in Ireland, and then I went to the Middle East, where I was travelling virtually every single day to a new place, playing there at night and then travelling on again, plus doing that in the company of lots of other people who are, of course, supporting me and helping me to do what I do, and travelling with my son, Colm, and leaving my poor husband behind. So it was a very, very tough autumn. I mean, I'm not usually away for so long, but it was 54 dates. My sound man came up to me on the last night and he said, "Do you know, this is the 54th date and we were in Bahrain." It really was horrendous.
Well, but the thing is that you had to start off doing that because you had 5 years on the road when you started off, didn't you, with the guitar and the suitcase and all the rest of it.
Yes, indeed.
Do you ever feel that, you know, you've done that, and now that you are very successful, you shouldn't have to do it anymore?
Well, basically, there is no substitute for the real thing, and that comes to that really is the bottom line when it comes to live performances. I would love to be Laurence Olivier in the hologram on stage in London. I want to devise one of those for myself so it can be in Aberdeen when I'm in London. No, seriously, I mean, obviously, if you are a performer or you're a concert performer or a singer, like me, people pay their money to see you play live, and there is no way that I can get round that. And admittedly, the only thing now that I have is a great deal more comfort than I had in the old folk club days. When people say to me, how would you like to go back to playing folk clubs? I say, you must be mad. There's nothing wrong with folk clubs, but the trimmings or the lack of them in those days were something I wouldn't wish to see again. It's now I have the support and the facilities.
Great. Well, we saw you last night, and we'll see you the next 3 weeks travelling over the British Isles. And if you'd like to call Barbara and talk to her about her new programme or about any of her career, then give us a call, 061 814 0424, and we'll be talking to Barbara a wee bit later. Thanks for now, Barbara.
Thanks very much.
Last night, Barbara Dickson came back to our screens for the first of a series of musical tours, and first off she visited the Isles of Scilly, only 30 miles from Cornwall, but a world of its own. Now, she looked as at home there as she does in the studio or on stage. Let's see her now.
Hello and welcome to the last afternoon show of the present series. I don't know how you feel about that. Personally, I'm sad to be leaving the comfort of the old sofa here.
They're born. You didn't notify me.
Well, I just... Couldn't I keep them for a few more days, please? Please, they're a pair, they go together.
My husband is due back tomorrow, Mrs. Johnson. I must have my baby. We made an agreement, a bargain. You swore on the Bible.
You better see which one you want.
I'll take
No! Don't tell me which one. Just take him. Take him.
Our driver and courier for this guided tour is Ron Perry, but they say you can't believe everything he tells you. Let's see how we go.
Piccadilly Circus.
5 o'clock in the morning, and the sun's just starting to rise. Been riding for days on this Greyhound cruise.
three of the faces of
I was going
Barbara
to say,
Dickson.
that's a real montage, that lot, isn't it?
You looked a bit surprised about all that.
Well, when I heard the opening titles of the afternoon show, I thought somebody pressed the wrong button there. But never mind. The Blood Brothers thing I'd never seen before.
Had you not?
My goodness, no. That brings back memories.
Yes.
And so does the Hours of Silly Trip, really. I mean, it's a great start to the series. I
Yes,
hope
well, that was
people like it.
last night. Yeah, you surprised me rather by telling me that was your first series for BBC.
Yes, I have done some things in Scotland, but only shown in Scotland alone. This is the first network series I've ever done for the BBC in light entertainment. I mean, because I am the eternal guest. I've been on everybody else's shows for about the last 100 years, and now they've given me a series of my own. But I have to say that it was really suggested by the programme I did in 1984, which is called Barbara Dickson in Scotland.
Yes.
Which was done in the north of Scotland with the same ideas behind it, and that was wonderful. And we've just done some more of a similar nature.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to them. But we're going to have a phone call, first of all, from Joe Perryman, who's phoning from Scotland. Oh no, somebody's just said we can't have him. He's gone. Oh, well, I'll just...
Oh, Joe, was it something I said?
Oh!
He must have gone to the folk club that I said, oh, God. Come back, Joe.
Right, we've got somebody else now. We've got Richard Diaper from, gosh, I can never remember whether this is Harwich or Harwich. It is Harwich, isn't it? Harwich.
Harwich.
God.
Continuity.
Right. I know, ex-continuity now, it's terrible. Richard Diaper, hello, speak, Richard.
Hello.
Hello.
Barbara.
Richard, good morning. What can I do for you?
Good morning. Well, I'd just like to know, we came up to London a few years ago to see Blood Brothers.
Yes?
Is anything else planned like that or not?
No, Richard, not at the moment. I mean, if you saw Blood Brothers, you will probably appreciate that it really was, for me, a one-off, certainly for the time being. It was so wonderful and so powerful that I don't really want to make a career for myself in the theatre.
Sorry, Barbara, for people who don't know what it is, could you just say,
Well,
what
it was a musical a story written by Willie Russell, which started its life at the Liverpool Playhouse, then went to London, directed by Chris Bond, and I was in it and played Mrs. Johnson, who basically is a woman with a lot of children who has twins finally. Her husband deserts her, and she gives away one of her children to a middle-class lady that she thinks will bring him up properly, one of the twins. The twins meet each other throughout their lives. That's really what the story is about. It's a great oversimplification because it is the most powerful and extraordinarily emotional story. And I was fortunate enough to be Mrs. Johnson, who
was your first acting role, wasn't it?
Central character, really, in the play. And it was the most fantastic thing. So obviously, I'm not in a hurry to go back into the theatre, Richard, basically, to do anything that was less than that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and also, I know you've just finished touring and you deserve a rest. Unfortunately, I got tickets to go to the Albert Hall, but I had an accident. I ended up with 2 broken legs, so obviously I couldn't get to the Albert Hall. Any chance when we come see you again, please?
Well, Richard, all I can say is that I hope, and you're quite a long way from London as well, which is a pity. I would say that hopefully, all being well, God willing, towards the end of the year, I may be on in London again. I mean, obviously, I like to do a large tour once a year, and it would be in the autumn because I've covered the country pretty comprehensively during 1987. If I go back out in the spring, everyone will say, "Oh no, not her again."
Well, Richard
so I'll have
wouldn't.
to leave it to the autumn, I'm afraid, Richard.
Are you all right now,
that
Richard?
satisfies you.
Well, I'm in plaster, and that's why I'm watching television instead of being at work.
Well, you watch it approximately 10:15 for the next 3 Wednesday
This is our
nights,
captive audience, you see.
He's certainly captive. You watch, Richard. See what you think of the next 3 programmes.
Yes,
Okay. Thanks a lot for calling,
Thank you
Richard.
very much. Sorry
Thank
about
you.
the legs.
Yeah, another call now from Rose Rothery in Halifax. Hello, Rose.
Hello.
Hello.
Rose,
Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning.
I'd like to say first I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank
and
you.
your show last night was lovely.
Thank you.
But don't you think they could have shown more of the islands?
Well,
Your voice would have come over so lovely across some of the beautiful scenery that's there.
Well, the thing is that it's very difficult in a half-hour programme to show islands, me, the people who live there, and to hear the songs.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got the scenery and my voice, some people would say that they didn't see enough of me in it. So what they do at the BBC is they try to plant me in amongst the scenery. and have me singing in amongst the scenery. And you got all of the aerial shots which were taken by the helicopter, which gave you as much of a sweeping panoramic view as I think people could have in a half-hour programme. I was fairly satisfied with the balance myself, in that you got to meet the local people, which was true. You got to see what the place looked like. You got a bit of me and a bit of my personality and some songs. And I don't think in a half-hour programme you could do much more than that. If they gave me 3/4 of an hour, perhaps I could do what you're suggesting.
You know, I just thought, like the last song that you sang with just 6 men rowing on
Yes.
the boat, you know, I thought your voice would have come over a lot, you know, with looking at the scenery of these beautiful islands.
Didn't you think that was spectacular? Me in the boat with 6 men coxing that boat.
Water with a rowing boat.
I thought it was a very plucky performance on your
I
part,
was
sitting there
very-
trying to look wistful in your oilskins
I
and
was
that.
so
You know, it was
much doing that. I tell you, I almost ended up in America. That stretch of water went all the way to America. I was congratulated by everybody. I mean, they don't do that in light entertainment, you know.
I said she was a trooper.
I was so proud of myself. Oh, well, never mind, Rose. You can't win them all. And I'm pleased that you enjoyed some of the songs anyway.
Yeah, keep watching, Rose.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for calling.
Cheers.
Kathy Stedford is on the phone now. Now, she's from the Isles of Scilly Tourism Association. What can she want?
Kathy, what was it like?
Hello, Barbara. First of all, in reply to the lady who's just been on, I think for all of those people who were involved in the programme, we knew it was going to be a light entertainment programme and not a travel programme. And Scilly this morning is just absolutely a buzz. Everybody is absolutely delighted with the way you came over and the island and everything else. We're all absolutely delighted with it.
Well, that's marvellous of you to say so, because I was thinking while I was watching the programme that everyone in the Scillies would be watching, and I just hoped I'd done it justice. And when I was sitting in the churchyard speaking to Rose Codd in the programme, I recall that since the programme was made, I've had a seat placed in the churchyard at the top near the Schiller Memorial there, which I hope the people of Scilly are enjoying sitting their bums on as they go by, just saying thank you to the islands for being so hospitable, because it was absolutely wonderful. I'd like to go back as a visitor, and that's not just because you're on the line. I think it's just beautiful, unspoiled.
I think we've set up a mutual admiration society
it was
here.
great, Kathy, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, you were quite safe in that gig, Barbara, because my husband was the boatman who was carrying the film crew, so he'd have rescued you if you'd fallen in.
Marvellous. Well, it was great seeing all my old friends again on the programme last night. It was great. And the boys from the Men of War, of course, had to row that boat about 10 times to get all those shots, which is extraordinary hard work. And they didn't flag at all. I mean, I just had to point it towards America.
Yes, singing and pointing and the
was
lot.
It was terribly
It must have been so
tiring.
hard for you, darling. It must have just been
Fortunately,
terrible.
you know, I did have a go at rowing, and I sat in amongst the guys, fortunately not on the film, and I did it and I fell right over because I put the oar too deep in the water. Anyway.
No, it was a wonderful effort, and obviously Kathy and the people of the Isles of Scilly were dead chuffed with you too. So that's great. Thanks a lot for phoning in, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
And thank you for just now, Barbara.
Pleasure.
We'll look forward to the rest of the series. We'll maybe get a chance to talk about that in a moment. But first, we're going over to Mike. Right, well, just before we go, I said that we'd come back to Barbara because we want to just briefly ask about next week. Where are you off to for your programme then?
Well, I do the west of Ireland next week, followed by Lincolnshire and South Wales. But the one in the west of Ireland is particularly interesting because I love that part of the world, and obviously the eccentricity of the Irish really comes out in the programme, although it's fairly short. There's a lovely man on it called Michael Uniacke, who sadly has died since the programme was made. He was very ill at the time, and I didn't know that, but he was a great character, and he makes hurling sticks. And he told me off the camera that I found out he had 13 children, and his brother-in-law, who was also in the shed with him with a cloth cap on, also had 13 children. And I didn't make any sort of racy comments about this, but I said, my God, 13 children, that's a lot of children. And all he did was turn around to me and he said, of course, you know, nowadays they're up to all the dodges. And that's all he said. He was too much of a gentleman to elaborate, but I thought that was great. So that's the sort of people I met in Ireland.
Yeah,
great
so
fun.
we'll see him. Yeah, and you're singing lots of Irish songs.
Not lots of Irish songs, a couple, but again, they're fairly broadly based.
Great. Okay, we'll look
Thanks,
forward to
Susan.
that, and thanks for
Cheers.
coming up. Well, join us tomorrow when we'll discuss Hungerford, the lessons. That's a special programme from this week. And Roger Bolton, the series editor, will be here to take your calls.